Who's thinking about buying football in June? Well, with the super early bird football promotion at WagerTalk and Sports Memo, we have a few reasons why. Early bird pricing for NFL and college football combo is $8.99, but using coupon code football100, you can take $100 off, dropping the price to $7.99. If you purchase by June 30th and use coupon code football100 to get your $100 discount, we'll also toss in an additional bonus. On July 4th, we'll take the highest scoring MLB game of the day and give you $10 for every run scored. Yes, so if July 4th, the highest scoring game is 10-9, you will get $190 in wager bucks to use how you choose. This super early bird $100 discount using Football 100 and Wager Bucks bonus expires on June 30th with no exceptions. So if you plan to bet football this year, this is the lowest price we will offer. So act fast and lock in your favorite football handicappers in both NFL and college football through the national championships and Super Bowl. Want a free PlayStation? Yes, free. Who would have thought in November 2020, when Sony released that PlayStation 5, that we'd be sitting here almost 20 months later with no consoles on shelves and very few available with online retailers? Well, we got our hands on a disc console, but instead of teaching President Teddy how to play NBA 2K, we'd like to send it to a loyal WagerTalk supporter. You can start earning entries now and repeat daily just by going to wt.buzz/ps5 and perform the social media task below to earn entries into our raffle. The contest will end at midnight on July 3rd, and a random winner will be announced on July 4th. Help us reach 100,000 subscribers on YouTube and grow our social media footprint, and you could be the new owner of a PS5.
4. What's up, guys? It's tea time, the U.S. Open edition. I am Nick Borrman of WagerTalk.com. With me, as always, Andy Lang, also of WagerTalk.com, here to break down the third major of the year, the one that makes us all feel better about our own golfing games because we see the guys struggle a little bit and it feels a little good, you know? So looking forward to it a lot. Andy, welcome, buddy. How are you?
Wow, what a U.S. Open we have this week. A lot of controversy. This might be one of the most watched U.S. Opens, especially if we get some amazing weekend pairings, especially on Sunday. I mean, can you imagine Rory and DJ in the final group? Can you imagine this? Or if Phil is alive on the weekend? An interesting course. It should be a really good test. The weather looks like it's going to be really good, and then you throw in the we'll just say the Boston fans could get a little rowdy if we get some of those some of the Boston massholes that come out like I'm sure they will on Saturday and on Sunday. Hey, they're rowdy. They can be rowdy. So I would expect a really good fan base to come out. But one of the best weeks of the year for golf for sure.
On Thursday in Boston, you can go to Fenway, catch a game, then get to the golf course, and then maybe make it time for the Celtics. So I mean, it's quite the
what
live
a week in Boston! Wow,
in Boston that week for sure. So yeah, I mean, this is going to be an awesome U.S. Open. I can't wait to get into it and get watching it. I do want to say congratulations to Charles Schwartzel for winning 3 times as much money as Rory McIlroy did this week in a field of mostly people I don't even know. So congratulations to Charles for winning the LIV Golf inaugural event. And it seems like more and more people are heading over there every day is like another rumor or something, but we'll see. But I don't really want to talk too much about that, Andy. I don't know if you have any takeaways from the LIV before we get into this week on the U.S. Open.
We'll save it till the end where it belongs.
There you go. I love it. Good call. All right. Let's get into this week, and we'll take care of a little business as we usually do. We do have a promo code for you guys this week, the promo code US Open 20. Take $20 off Andy or myself's tournament pack for this week. Normally priced at $39. Get it for just $19. Correct me if I'm wrong, Andy. Both of us have a 5% play included in the pack this week. So normally selling for $35 by itself, you're going to get that along with all the rest of our plays for just $19 using that promo code this week. So definitely good value. Definitely head over to WagerTalk.com, either one of our pages to check that out. All right. We always like to start with a quick breakdown of last week, Andy. A little best bets and worst bets from the RBC Canadian Open. So let's give it to you first. What was your best? What was your worst from last week?
Well, when all was said and done, I only ended up with 2 bets. One of my guys withdrew before the tournament started, CT Pan, and then I had a first-round bet that that tied. So I ended up with 2 bets. I will go with my best bet as Dylan Fratelli, the top South African. This one was dicey. He waited until the last hole to make the cut. So he makes the cut. And what do we always say in golf betting? Just give yourself a chance on the weekends. It's the same as actually playing golf. He gave himself a chance on the weekend and stormed away with the victory. I think he won by 5 or 6 shots. So that was a 4% play. It was my top play of the week. So it was really good to get that one won. And then it was a client play, but I gave it out last week to Ryan Armour over Harry Higgs. That was never in doubt. Harry Higgs is ultimate fade material. So I will be excited to see Mr. Yeah, I will. Seriously, I will be very excited to see Mr. Higgs in head-to-head matchups moving forward. So it ended up being a great week because it was just ended up 2 plays, but 2-0. So don't really have a worst bet. So bummed that I did not get CT Pan. He withdrew before the tournament started. I had him to make the cut. You can just count on him making the cut week after week. So I feel like I could have had a 3-0 week. How was your week though?
Yeah, he would have been there for you for sure. I had a very good week. I took four bets as I did the week prior. I bet 4 guys outright top 10 and top 20. All 4 of them finished in the top 20. The worst bet was Harold Varner, who finished tied for 13th. I had, who I had, my 2 favorite, Fitzy and Lowry. Fitzy stormed off to an early start, but then kind of fizzled and never really was in contention over the weekend. But he was close enough he was there on Thursday, Friday. He finished tied for 10th. Lowry tied for 10th, and Tony Finau was the one that got away. I had him. I was ready to cash it, and I was just rooting for Rory to step on a sprinkler head, break his ankle like Tony did, a couple years ago, and not be able to finish. But listen, kudos and congrats to Rory. I mean, he played great. He was aggressive on Sunday. He finally showed up and did what he had to do on a Sunday and was just lights out. He just kept throwing dart after dart. And I was just getting angrier and angrier. But congratulations to him. I always say all I want's a chance on the weekend. I had it. Honestly, I already was like, if I win this, I would have complained about winning the week prior to the major, thinking I peaked early. So hopefully now that means we can get this week. So let's move on to the U.S. Open. As always, let's start with the top 10 strokes gained coming in. Rory, of course, was in this list last week, as expected. I mean, he's big-time player, and he's been playing very, very well. So that is now 14 of 23 tour winners so far in 2022 coming from within this graphic. So, as always, let's start here. We have, it's the who's who of golf. It's a major. Everybody you expect is here. You got Scotty leading the way right behind Rory, and then JT. Between Rory and JT, those 2 look very good and very tough to beat right now. Shane Lowry, John Rahm, who is the defending champ, Cam Smith, Matthew Fitzpatrick, Willie Z, Cantley, who it's a major, so I don't, he's here, but we know what that means. And then Joaquin Niemann rounding out that top 10. So pretty strong list here. I threw a couple other notables. These are just really highly ranked players, not necessarily playing well, but you got Morikawa and Hovland, 7 and 8 in the world there. Jordan Spieth, Xander Schauffele, who's been number 11 on this list, so he actually just won off at a plus 1.78 per. And then I threw in the LIV's highlight reel player of Dustin Johnson, plus 1.05. So we'll see how a lot of those players do this week, but a pretty strong list nonetheless for this week. So Andy, let's break down the course. Let's break down the field. We know it's a U.S. Open. We know it's going to play extremely difficult, but what do you have for the viewers this week?
Really interesting course, very classic. This is not one of those U.S. Opens where bombers can just, bomb away. This isn't like those courses in New York where they set them up really long, par 70, 72, 50 yards. Fast greens, that's a U.S. Open staple. We're going to have fast greens. We're going to have fast fairways and very, very thick rough. That's going to be the biggest thing. These greens are very small. There's a lot of runoff. And they really did a number on the rough, especially around the greens. They also have a lot of fescue on the fairways and around the greens. So you hit in that fescue, it's going to force a lot of really short layups, probably many penalty strokes because it's hard to find the ball and some of that stuff. there's a really good video. It's about 16 minutes long, but they do the drone over each hole. It's online. It's great. They have graphics at the bottom kind of explaining, and it's really good if you really want to get to know the course. One of the things that struck me is just how most of the greens, they run from back to front with a lot of fall off and false fronts. So if you come up short, that ball is going to roll back down into the fairway. If you go long, you're going to have a very, very difficult chip coming out of really thick rough into a green that's going away from you. So you're going to have to hit as many greens as possible, but these greens are so small in the runoff that you're just not going to be able to hit all of them. I don't know what the percentage of greens in regulation is going to be for the winter, but I'm looking at two stats. I'm looking at strokes gained off the tee and driving accuracy. I think you need to give yourself a really good chance on your approaches. If you're in this rough, these approaches are just going to be brutal. And then scrambling around the green. I'm looking at guys who are good around the green, who can navigate. There's a ton of bunkers on the back nine. There's a lot of bunkers right in front of the greens. So your sand game has to be good. Coming out of the thick rough has to be good. And if you don't give yourself a chance off the tee, you're going to have a really, really, well, you could have a short week, not a long week. You could have a really short week. So when I look at this, and seeing the course, it's more narrow than I thought. And there's a couple of holes that are just incredible decisions where guys are going to have to decide, like, do I want to drive the ball and try and hit it 320, or do I pull out 3-wood or even like 3-iron to lay up, because they've got a couple holes where there's some real danger, like water, some runoffs into water that are about 310 yards out. So going to be some interesting decisions out there, but I think around the green is just going to be spectacular to watch. The guys that are finishing up top, you're going to see accurate off the tee, and scrambling numbers are going to be most important to me. So what's your take on the course?
Yeah, definitely some good notes. I mean, it's a U.S. Open. It's always important to keep it in play. A couple quick history things on here. It doesn't have anything bearing, I guess, on this exact tournament, but the greatest game ever played, if you've never seen that movie, that is based right here at this golf course. Amateur caddy Francis Ouimet won the U.S. Open 1913 right here at the Country Club. Pretty cool story. If you've never seen the movie, go check it out. And then we had probably the best Ryder Cup in history was played here in 1999. I'm sure you remember that one. Justin Leonard sunk that 40-some footer on 17 to really cap off one of the greatest comebacks ever for the Americans. So that was awesome. So there is some good history here. And then I did want to mention the last major event here was the 2013 USAM. I was surprised to see the list of who was in that field. First of all, Matthew Fitzpatrick was the winner. Okay. That list of players included Corey Connors, semifinalist, Scotty Scheffler, quarterfinalist, Xander Schauffele in the round of 16. This is when they were all knocked out. DeChambeau, round of 32, as well as Justin Thomas, Will Zalatoris, and Max Homa, all who didn't qualify for the match play, but they were all here in there. So I mean, it's a pretty strong list of players. That's
an all-star Ryder Cup team.
that is the who's who of golf right now. So, yeah, when I saw that list, I'm like, damn, man, that's pretty impressive. So I don't know if it has any bearing on this week, but I did want to just at least bring it up. So my notes on this week, I'm not going to disagree with you, but I'm going to actually put more preface on distance this week than you would think. And the reason I say that is because there's been a trend going on in the U.S. Opens. All right, it started in 2016. Dustin Johnson won the U.S. Open, followed by back-to-back Brooks Koepka wins, then Gary Woodland, then Bryson DeChambeau, Jon Rahm right after that. That is a streak of bombers that have won here. And I think the big reason you're seeing it is because the courses are getting harder and harder and harder. And while you go back 20 years and you get guys, your Jim Furyks and your short hitters and straight guys that are keeping it in play, we're winning every year. The changes that has happened is the hitting areas are smaller, or landing areas, are smaller and smaller and smaller. So everybody's missing. So isn't it better to hit a wedge out of some thick rough than a 5-iron? I don't know. Listen, I don't know if it'll pan out that way this week, but it has kind of seemed to go that route. DeChambeau was definitely a good example of that 2 years ago. But every one of those guys since Dustin Johnson in 2016 are long hitters and in the tops on tour in distance and shot strokes gained off the tee. So Jon Rahm was number one last year. I think he's right up there again this year. So listen, I'm not going to say throw accuracy out the window by any means. I'm not running to the window to back Cameron Champ, who's the tour's longest hitter. But I do think distance will be that X factor. Let's call it that. Yes, you have to get it in play, but if you give me two guys that are getting in play about the same amount of time, I want the longer guy. So I'm just going to mention that this week. That's my take. I hope it's going to be a great event. I know. Last week was so awesome, such a great timing for the finish. I hope this one comes out just as well. And even seeing the PGA, the way that thing finished out, I just have a good feeling that this is going to be an awesome event when it all is said and done. So let's get into our bets for the week. Listen, I as I'm getting ready for the show and I'm writing my notes and I'm looking, I'm like, Andy is going to punch me in the face if I think about taking Matthew Fitzpatrick or Shane Lowry again. But honestly,
why?
I'm not saying I haven't. I'm not saying I won't. I know. But I'm like, at what point do I just stop? So I haven't fully decided if I'm going to get invested in them yet. I will say I'm not yet, but I probably will have something on either one of them at some point. I just think Fitzpatrick tends to do better at the courses that play harder when you don't have to be a birdie fest. So anyway, we'll see. But my first outright play I'm going to go with this week is Will Zalatoris, 30-1 right now on the outright market. Yes, he hasn't got that PGA Tour win yet, but what a way to break through with your first one by winning a major. He was tied for 6th at the Masters. That's a year after breaking onto the scene with a runner-up in 2021. Then, of course, he lost in that playoff to Justin Thomas last month at the PGA Championship. And overall, he's finished inside the top 6 in 5 of his last 7 starts. So he is playing great. You mentioned accuracy. You mentioned ball striking. You mentioned all that. Obviously, he is one of the best, and that's what he is known for. It's his putting that has held him back. But number 1 strokes gained approach, number 6 greens in regulation, and he's a guy that can hammer it off the tee still. He ranks 15th actually in driving distance. So these are very small greens. Not many players have a lot of experience on them, so that usually helps players like Zalatoris or guys that aren't great putting. It kind of levels the field a little bit. So I'm hoping that's the case this week. But at 30-1, he's been showing up really, really well in these majors. So I'm hoping he's going to be there on Sunday and give us a chance. So Will Zalatoris is my first selection. Andy, let's go to you. Let's talk about guys that you're going to be avoiding. At least this week you have a big list of big names to choose from. Usually you're choosing from, 5, 6, 7 big names, and it's hard for you. So at least you got a little bit bigger list. But who are the guys you're going to be avoiding this week?
Yeah, finally, I actually get to pick some guys that have a chance to do this. That's all right. I came up with this segment. I'm perfectly fine with it. So, and then guys that can trip you up. These are guys that I believe are overvalued. I'm not saying that these guys are going to miss the cut. I'm just saying that if you invest in them, they could let you down. So I'm going to start with Brooks Koepka. Everyone's going to look at his success at the U.S. Opens. And listen, Mr. U.S. Open has been terrible this year. He missed the cut at the Masters. He finished 55th at the PGA Championship. There was a legendary bachelor party that he went to and then withdrew from the tournament before it started the week before. There's just a lot of things going on with Brooks, not really golf related. And I have not seen anything from his game that is letting me know he's ready to win a major. I mean, listen to some of these stats. 123rd tee to green this season, 130th in approach, 159th around the green, which is a stat that I believe is going to be big. I forget his success at previous U.S. Opens. This isn't the same course. This isn't the same guy. Brooks Koepka is a fade for me. I don't expect much from him this week. So, player
like
number
ready for the LIV tour.
I don't see him going over there. I think he's won all these majors. He's exempt from everything. He can make his own schedule on the PGA Tour, and he's pretty laid back. I think he's just in a weird year right now. He's had those injuries, so there's been a little bit of toll. I don't see Koepka going over there, even though he's best friends with DJ. Golfer number 2, listen, I'm going back to Cameron Smith, and this is an example of I just think he's overvalued here. He has 3 finishes in 2022 inside the top 12. He was 48th last week on a course. You could draw the comparison that last week's course has a couple of similarities. The weather is going to be pretty similar. The greens were small, a little bit of a thick rough. This guy is the 5th favorite to win this tournament, and if he continues finishing outside the top 12, that's going to be a real disappointment if you invest in him. Here's an interesting stat, Nick. In 2022, so before the Masters, going into the Masters, he was plus 1.18 putting. Since the Masters, minus 0.17 putting. That magic putting stroke has gone. If you were following Cameron Smith, he was draining a lot of putts that you're like, oh, that was an awesome putt. That's not going to last. I think he's overvalued. So Cameron Smith is just going to be too expensive. He's not going to be in my daily fantasy lineups or any of my head-to-heads. And then finally, I'm fading Dustin Johnson. I want nothing to do with him. He finished 8th last week in an exhibition match. I mean, before that, he finished miscut 59th miscut on the PGA Tour. I don't think he really cares too much about winning. The appearance fee check has cashed. I watched some of him. He looked completely checked out. He did not look competitive at all. Haven't heard anything from him. I don't expect much from him. I'm looking to fade him, and I'll tell you can get some really nice plus money on Dustin Johnson to miss the cut. So, just finishing 8th last week is embarrassing for a guy with his talent level in that field last week. Like, okay, you don't have to go out and win, but 8th, you can't crack the top 5. So Brooks Koepka, Cameron Smith, and Dustin Johnson, 3 guys that I believe can trip you up this week.
I always feel good about myself when none of the guys I have circled are on that list, because you usually are very, very good in picking guys to avoid. So I thank you for that list. It makes me feel better about my own choices so far this week. So I will be avoiding those players as well for a lot of the very similar reasons. So good, Andy. Thank you very much. I'm going to go back to another outright play. I'm looking to cash this week. Listen, Andy, I'm trying to make it 3 for 3 at the majors here. So I got a lot of pressure. It's been kind of weighing on me as far as making my selections. I feel like it would be quite the season to say I could go perfect on the majors. I know it's not going to happen, but I got a chance.
You could go for the Borrman. It's the Borrman Slam. It's the Borrman Slam. We have the Tiger Slam. We need the Borrman Slam.
Listen, if that happens, we're getting shirts. We're wearing them. It's going to be.
Oh my gosh!
Magical, so
absolutely. Who you got?
All right. Well, listen, the one I'm going to go with here, I know you like this week. He's not a proven winner on the biggest stage as far as the majors go. He's probably right there at the top of the best player on the tour without a major win. He's been playing very well. His U.S. Open record is phenomenal. I'm going to hope for Xander this week. Right now, he's at 22-1. You know, I haven't given him a lot of attention over the last year, I'll be honest, for good reason. He's been void of any of the big wins, and that's been a big story. He did, however, finally get the win. Of course, it was with Billy Horschel in the Zurich Classic partner event back in April.
Doesn't count.
But listen, a win's a win. You know, you got to start somewhere. It makes him feel good about himself. But then since then, he's been quietly solid. He's finished tied for 5th at the Byron Nelson, tied for 13th at the PGA, which is kind of his MO. Just he's like very quiet, very sneaky, but he's there. And tied for 18th most recently at the Memorial. Looking at his season numbers, there isn't one that stands off the charts particularly, but he's been very solid. He's 9th total strokes gained, 7th tee to green, 12th strokes gained approach, number 2 in sand saves, which I think could be an important factor this week, number 9 in putting average, which leads to number 7 in scoring average. So again, a guy that you just don't hear a lot about right now because he's not winning and he's not getting a lot of attention, but he's very, very solid all the way through. The thing I like about him the most, I mentioned it before, is his U.S. Open results. I mean, the last 5 years.
Unbelievable.
Tie for 5th, tie for 6th, tie for 3rd, 5th, tie for 7th. I mean, his worst finish is a 7th. Will that play out this year? History doesn't really matter in the long run if your form's not good, but I think his form is solid enough that, when the going gets tough, as they say, he should show up. I know you did like him this week. I apologize. As I know, we both kind of wrote him down to have mentioned him or some sort of player to bet on this week, and I stole your thunder. But Xander Schauffele, I think, has got a decent value. I've been trying to take – Scotty Scheffler he was the slam dunk home run at the Masters. I think a lot of people were on him. JT was a guy at the PGA that I circled because his kind of number grew to the point where – because he hadn't won in a year, but he was playing so damn well, and he got up to 17-1, and that's long for JT. And I'm like, you know what? Now's the time. got lucky, of course, but maybe this is it for Xander. So Xander Schauffele for me. Andy, wish me luck. Let's go back to you for DraftKings darlings, who are your low price players this week to build your lineup around.
Well, last week was a real letdown because I had Pan and Perez, my lineups that I gave out on the show, and then both of them ended up not playing. So Pat Perez left my lineup and the PGA Tour, it appears. So bye Patty Perez. All right, so listen, I'm going to count last week. I ended up losing my head to head because I had to make some adjustments and I didn't get my guy. So 13-7 this year on my DraftKings head-to-head lineups. First player, Davis Riley. We remember him in the playoff, but this guy has just been money in DraftKings. He's been money in head-to-head matchups, and he's only 7,300 this week. This guy's finished top 13 in 5 straight tournaments. I mean, that's elite level to do that in 5 straight. And so I'm getting a guy that nobody is thinking about and is not on anybody's radar. So 7,300 to get a guy that is not only making the cut, but making the top 20. Obviously loaded field, going to be a little bit tougher to have a top 13, but who knows? All I need him to do is make the cut. Up next, you mentioned him earlier, and this guy's been a really, really good bet on, continues to be undervalued. That's Harold Varner. He's also 7,300. 8 made cuts in a row, made the cut at both majors. He finished 23rd and 48th. So I get a guy that's done really well at the 2 majors before, not afraid of the big stage. He has a win over where. And he finished 13th last week. So coming in with really good form. So I'm stunned that I can start my lineups with Davis Riley and Harold Varner at 7,300. And then I'm going to go with Mito Pereira at 7,800 as my last DraftKings darling. He's been incredible this year. 7 straight finishes inside the top 27. And what I love about this guy, since the meltdown at the PGA Championship, easy for him to have a letdown. He's finished 7th and 13th. So, blew it at the PGA Championship, comes back with 2 great finishes. So I'm going to start with Riley, Varner, and Pereira, and that gives me enough money to put our boy Shane Lowry in my lineup.
Oh, yeah.
Shane Lowry. Also, we've done well with him. Tommy Fleetwood, I can put in my lineup, and that leaves me enough money for Rory McIlroy, who, there's like 3 or 4 guys that when they get going, it's like look out, and Rory's one of them. JT's one of them. Rahm is one of them. I really wanted to make it a point to get Rory in my lineup this week. So final lineup ends up Riley, Varner, Pereira, Fleetwood, Lowry, and McIlroy.
Listen, Davis Riley's, been fantastic, as well as Cameron Young, and I've been looking at both of them, trying to figure out which one, I like more going into this week. I don't know if on DraftKings if Cameron Young is a higher price necessarily than Davis Riley, but both of them are definitely good selections. And you're right about McIlroy. I mean, I'd be very surprised if he's anything but right there on Sunday with a chance to win again. And JT, between those two, they look like the toughest ones to beat. And their numbers suck, of course. You're 11-1, 12-1, whatever it is right now, currently. But it's kind of like
I'm not betting against those two. I'm not betting against those two. No chance.
The world felt the same way with Scotty at the Masters, and he would look just like the no-brainer pick, and Rory or JT both look like that this week. So it wouldn't surprise me if we're sitting here next week and going, "Yep, as expected, one of those two won this thing." So we'll see how it plays out, but definitely a good lineup you got there, Andy.
I gotta say, Nick, you mentioned Cameron Young, who you and I both love, but this is what makes Riley a DraftKings darling. So you can get Cameron Young at 8,800 or Davis Riley at 7,300. I mean, that's what makes Riley the DraftKings darling, is the price. It feels like the books have caught up on Young, but not necessarily on Riley. So,
yeah, you're 100% right there. Like I said, I didn't know the price, so if it was similar, I would be tough to choose. But based on that price, it's a no-brainer on Riley. So good choice for sure. So let's get into our best bets for the week, shall we? And I guess it's a perfect segue because mine's Cameron Young. Cameron Young Cameron Young to finish top 40. But now you got me questioning. Maybe I got to go back and look at Davis Riley's top 40 price because it's probably closer to even money. Cameron Young right now is minus 140 on DraftKings. But, Young's golf has been just incredible. The only, I guess you call it a worry, was the last round on the PGA Tour that he played. He shot 84 on Sunday at the Memorial to finish tied for 60. So obviously that is somewhat alarming. But before that, he had 3 straight finishes inside the top 3, including the PGA Championship, the Wells Fargo, 2 very, very difficult courses and field that those tournaments. And the winning score was in the single digits, as I'm sure we're expecting it to be this week. He hits it far. He's number 7 on tour this season in distance. He also ranks 22nd proximity to the hole. Scrambling is okay, ranking number 40, which will certainly come into play this week while he sits number 25 in putting average. So, pretty decent all around. And all that leads to number 10 on tour in scoring average this season. He's young, pun intended, and should be able to forget that last round he played at Memorial. And if he does, I think he likely is in contention. You like that one, Andy? I was right. I was making my notes on that. I'm like, oh, this is like dad joke.
That was good. That was great. That was really good.
Well, thank you. So Cameron Young is my best bet, top 40. I expect him to at least make the cut and be able to get inside that top 40. Andy, your best bet of the week? What you looking at?
I just can't quit you, Tommy. Going back to Tommy Fleetwood, top 40. We see these guys that we just keep riding streaks, Nick. I like doing this in all sports. Find a guy that you can just continually bet on, and Tommy Fleetwood has just been a really, really good bet on this year. First off, he's played both majors extremely well. He finished 14th at the Masters, 5th at the PGA Championship. Love great form at the 2 majors. Played in 10 tournaments in 2022, excluding the Zurich. And finished top 40 in 8 of the 10. Historically, he doesn't have great success at the last 3 U.S. Opens. I'm not really sure those courses set up good for those. He's not a bomber by any stretch, but I like his chances at this course. This is by far his best year on the PGA Tour. His stats are fantastic the last 3 months. 21st in total strokes gained in this field, plus 0.57 putting across that time, plus 1.16 tee to green. I really like the way that he can handle himself. He doesn't get upset. He doesn't get bummed out. And as we know with U.S. Opens, your demeanor and your way to handle adversity is really key. I think his game sets up well for this course. So I'm definitely going to take Tommy Fleetwood to finish in the top 40 once again as my best bet this week.
Fairway Jesus, good selection. I think he was at the PGA, if I'm not mistaken, he kind of backdoored that top 5, right? He wasn't necessarily an early tee time, but he wasn't near the lead after round 3, and he got out kind of early, played very well, and then posted a number, and it was very difficult on that Sunday. And we always talk about getting those guys early on the weekends that come back. Rory's done it a couple times, and now of course he won, but he posted a couple backdoor finishes. The Masters was a huge one, so they're never out of contention as long as they make the cut to cash some of these leaderboard bets. So I like your play for sure on Tommy. Before we end the show, we want to talk about our winning score for the week. You were the better selection, better number you threw out last week. I think you chose 20 under par. Is that correct? So you were 1 off that. I went a little lower at 16, which I honestly thought I had it wrapped up on Thursday, Friday.
I did too.
Of course, was much more difficult. But then the guys started to go lights out over the weekend. So good number on you for that week. So that gives you the dubious honor of going first this week. What is the winning score? Now this week, I'll say, at least it's a major, so you might have pools you're actually doing this week, and the winning score might come into play. So what is your winning score this weekend?
Really tough because we basically have no course history on this one, so we're just shooting from the hip here. I don't foresee weather being a big deal. I don't think that we're going to have a ton of wind. I think there's not a lot of gettable par 5 opportunities. I mean, you can, but they're going to be hard. I think there's going to be a lot of bogeys. I think you're going to see a lot of scorecards with, par, birdie, bogey, par, bogey, like just a big roller coaster ride. I think 2 under each round would be a really good score, good enough to win. I think somebody can get to 8 under, and that's going to be my pick as a winning score.
Okay, not bad. I think it's doable. I'm just gonna go with what we saw at the PGA. I don't know if it's gonna get harder as the week goes on. The rough is, we know it's long. It'll only get worse as the week goes. So I'm gonna stick with the PGA winning number just to give us a little bit of a separation here. I don't want to go 7 under par and totally screw you.
Yeah, right.
So I'll go 5. I'll go 5. 5 under par. I think we'll lift this thing, but we'll see. We know it's not going to be in the double digits. So, any notes? Any takeaways? Last thing we'll talk about. Any takeaways from the inaugural LIV golf event last week?
Yeah, I gotta say, I thought I didn't realize I would have the gamut of emotions that I did have when it teed off. I was watching and I was like, I can't believe like we're watching this. It felt surreal. And then I watched the actual product, which was atrocious. The quality of golf was awful. Guys flubbing shots, the big name guys not really caring about winning. I mean, Charles Schwartzel cared about winning. Phil didn't care. DJ didn't care. And that's kind of when I kind of came to the realization that this is just exhibition. That's all it is. You can do a lot of research and see exactly what is behind this golf tour. And it's absolutely insane. But then I listened to the press conferences of Taylor Gooch and Kevin Na trying to tell us that one of the big reasons they came over here was because of the shotgun start. That way they don't get bad tee times with the weather. And then you hear some of their talking points and you just realize that they've been coached and that they have gone from professional golfers to Saudi Arabian spokespersons. And I got to say, after all was said and done, the only thing I could say was it was sad. I was sad to watch these competitors that I've watched for, DJ, my God, how long have we watched him to see like, this is kind of what he's going for. And this is what his career is going to end with. I did enjoy all the shots, but the press conferences were terrible. And by the way, this week they've gotten worse. Phil's press conference was an embarrassment. Finally Bryson came out and just said it. He said, this is a business decision. Great. That was all we wanted to hear. I'm going to miss these guys. I equate this to people don't really realize how big open wheel racing was in the 80s. I'm from Indianapolis, so how big the Indy 500 was. And they had a splinter and it wrecked the sport. And I feel like they're on the verge here. They're teetering. And what Rory and JT have done in their press conferences and what they've said and what Rahm has said gives me hope that not everyone is going to jet over there. We haven't lost anybody that I really care too much about. I'm fine without watching, some of these guys. I was sad for the viewers. I was sad for the guys. I didn't take away hardly anything positive, but I got to say, I've been intrigued by a competing league because I would hope it would improve the PGA Tour and some of our grievances and some of the things that we complain about. And sure enough, here we go, Nick. I'm going to read this to you. You're not going to believe this. This is how you can watch the U.S. Open on Thursday. You ready? From 6:45 to 9:30, it's on Peacock. From 9:30 to 2 o'clock, it's on USA. From 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock, it's on NBC. From 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, it's on USA. And from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock, it's on Peacock. This is a professional league. And I got to say, it was really nice just going to the YouTube channel and knowing I can just have this on all day. I think the PGA Tour has the upper hand if we're talking about competing, but this viewing schedule is by far the biggest advantage that LIV has. However, they don't have a competitive field. I didn't know the teams were ridiculous. Nobody could follow any of those. I didn't know 75% of the golfers that were there. And finding out some of the backstory about the LIV Tour, we all have to come to the realization that they are not going away. It's just going to be there. They've put aside $2 billion over the next few years to lose on this because of things that they want to do outside. So it's going to be here. Their viewership is going to be terrible. They don't care. And I just hope the PGA Tour can fix some of these things that they're getting wrong. Because they're going to have to fix it to make it right with the fans and to make it with the players. But overall, one word to describe it: sad. What'd you think?
Yeah. Be interesting to see how they make out when they come to the States, which is what, 3 weeks, and they're in Oregon playing. So when they actually have a tournament there, but the spectator turnout will be like. But my take was, it's more fast paced as far as viewership goes, right? I mean, there were a lot more shots per minute shown because everybody's on the course at once and the shotgun's going. And I wasn't expecting it. As soon as I turned it on, I'm like, oh, that guy putted. And I mean, I felt like before the ball was even in the hole or stopped, they were moving on to the next guy who was chipping. And then all of a sudden they're at the tee, and the guy's smashing the driver. I'm like, there's a lot happening right now. So from that standpoint, I suppose it was cool. There was a lot less, because of the TV deals with the PGA Tour. There was, I don't know if it was commercial free or very, very little breaks as far as commercials go. So from an action standpoint, if you can call watching golf having a lot of action, which we know, it doesn't have. It did have more action than the PGA Tour, but trying to watch the leaderboard, which was like always on the left-hand side of the screen, I was like, I had to keep, I'm like, who the hell's that? What are those initials? I don't know that last name. What is that? And then, so I only watched probably a total of 10, 12 minutes between the first 2 days. I didn't watch any on the last day. But I did at least pull updates to see who was going to win the thing when it all was said and done. So we'll see how it goes, but doesn't have my attention at this point. It's all U.S. Open. It's all PGA Tour for me. But I will say this. I'm going to watch the betting markets if they start to become available to us, and maybe we can, listen, I guess call me one of the guys in the LIV. Do I have like bad blood money if I bet on the LIV Tour because all of a sudden I'm making a lot more money on it because I got some sort of edge? I don't know. Maybe I'm just as bad as those guys, but
no, because we're betting in the U.S. market, so you don't have to worry about it at all.
Yeah, we're taxpayers. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Thanks. You always make me feel better. All right, before we end the show, let's our last order of business is to give out that promo code one more time. US Open 20 is the promo code for this week. Take $20 off this week's pack for either Andy or myself. Both of us have a 5% top play in that pack. Normally sells at $35 by itself. Get this entire pack, so 5% plus every other play for just $19. Definitely good value. Check out WagerTalk.com on either one of our pages for those packs. We will be back again next week for the Travelers Championship. So on behalf of Andy and myself and WagerTalk.com, make sure to hit that like button, and we will see you guys next week.
Who's thinking about buying football in June? Well, with the super early bird football promotion at WagerTalk and Sports Memo, we have a few reasons why. Early bird pricing for NFL and college football combo is $8.99, but using coupon code FOOTBALL100, you can take $100 off, dropping the price to $7.99. If you purchase by June 30th and use coupon code FOOTBALL100 to get your $100 discount, we'll also toss in an additional bonus. On July 4th, we'll take the highest scoring MLB game of the day and give you $10 for every run scored. Yes, so if July 4th, the highest scoring game is 10-9, you will get $190 in wager bucks to use how you choose. This super early bird $100 discount using Football 100 and wager bucks bonus expires on June 30th with no exceptions. So if you plan to bet football this year, this is the lowest price we will offer. So act fast and lock in your favorite football handicappers in both NFL and college football through the national championships and Super Bowl.